Hey class, what's good? It's your boy Jimmy. Hmm. Hey class, what's good? What's good? What's good? Glad to have you guys back. You know how we got this relationship going on. We got this thing where we just give me a second. Skin clean, eh? Skin clean, eh? Broke people, let's learn horoscope. Rich people, let's learn astrology. It's not the same thing, by the way. So then you know that. You guys already know that. That's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Now today we're going to focus on Pluto. Pluto, and as you can see in the head description, it shows the planet or the destroyer. Well, I say that in a way that is much more refreshing than it appears on the word that I have on top. The destroyer meaning something that destroys and builds something different for something new. And Pluto has that reputation of doing that. Wherever Pluto is inside your chart, you could look forward to some kind of change that you would not even have thought was going to come. Pluto is known as the most dangerous planet. Why? Because it focuses on things that are underground, unseen, unknown. What's more dangerous than a pool of water? But underneath is just turbulence. And that's what Pluto brings to the chart. It brings a sense of calmness on the surface, but a raging storm underneath. Pluto has literally transformed my life in every way possible. Now, Pluto in my chart, I can start with me, is in my third house. What I've seen from doing other people's chart is when it comes to a sense of form of transportation, or not just transportation, but my sense of communication also. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that. I'm in the call. I don't know why does this. If I put it on Do Not Disturb, why do calls still come through? I don't understand that. But anyway, in my chart, what I've experienced is I've experienced the death of my sibling, my sister. Also, I already know fully well from doing charts and following other people's chart that may not be the only sibling that I bury. And these are siblings that are pretty much close to me. I know this before I even had a chance to really go deep into astrology. So my mind, my body, my spirit was really preparing me for, the loss of a sibling or loss of siblings going forward into the future. I see there's showing there's nobody in class. If you're in class and you're listening to me, please, I want to do a check of who's in class today. I want to keep a very, very good, a very detailed account of who's watching and who is in class. So if you're in class this afternoon, just say present or show a hand or say here. I'm going to call your name and you're going to say here like we do inside class. I'm not going to call your name. You need to say you're here. Okay? I was just playing that part. Now, as we're focusing on Pluto. Pluto, I'm going to read an insight from our book, Astrology for Yourself, the workbook for personal transformation. And we're almost at the end of our semester. Call it semester because you also have, this is a whole year course. How'd go, Candy? How'd go? Say how'd go. There's something else. Hey, Ambi. Okay, good. That's both of you. We got our regulars. So I'm going to read from the book that you guys probably have. It's called, like I gave you the name. So it reads as this: Pluto, planetary ruler of the sign Scorpio, symbolizes the capacity for self-transformation and self-renewal. The existence of Pluto was first suspected when the astronomer noticed a slight gravitational pull affecting the orbit of Neptune. Now take in mind, this is how we know if there's another planet in our solar system, because there's a wobble in other planets. That's another topic when we talk about stuff like the planet X or the planet of Peru. I want you to keep that in mind. So we're going to get past all of that history of it, and we're going to go straight into what it does. From the, I'm made some events that it's connected to. Pluto was first sighted as it passed through the sign of Cancer, symbol of our basic security needs. Astrologers soon correlated it with the following events. In 1914, as Pluto entered Cancer, World War I began, forever destroying the old social and political order in the 19th century. In 1922, a global depression destroyed the economic security of millions and forever altered the international economic system. During the 1930s, the birth of modern depth psychology plunged humanity into the investigation of the unconscious mind. This was also the era of gangsters and racketeering. Also, when Pluto entered Leo in 1939, fascism spread throughout Europe as dictators sought to control and manipulate the masses. In August 1945, the detonation of the first atomic bomb initiated the nuclear age. Another thing that was actually equated to Pluto that is not inside this book is around the time it was discovered, the AIDS epidemic started. From the above events, which reveal the destructive properties of Pluto, we can understand why many astrologers first viewed the planet in an advanced light. Pluto, however, clearly possessed a redeeming side. To understand the workings of Pluto, imagine that a glyph symbolizes a flower encapsulated its seed. Before the seed can produce new life, it must first fall to the ground and die. Next, it lies buried in the soil, hidden from the light of day. In that state, it undergoes a mysterious transformation. With the passage of time, a new seedling pokes its head through the soil. A new plant has now been reborn. And this is why astrologers look at Pluto as a death rebirth planet. Thus, while Uranus shatters from the flash of light and Neptune slowly dissolves it, Pluto penetrates to the core of an object and permanently transforms it. Metaphors for this process includes the metamorphosis of a caterpillar or a butterfly, the death and resurrection of Christ, and the alchemical transmutation of lead into gold. From the above examples, we can see that the Plutonian process is irreversible. The butterfly cannot return to being a caterpillar. Similarly, the person who undergoes the Plutonian experience emerges as a fundamentally different person. He or she will never be the same again. In penetrating nature's innermost secrets, Pluto uncovers her creative and destructive forces. Thus, depending on his or her level of evolution, the Plutonian individual may become a black magician or the spiritual healer, the dictator of the religious saint, or something of that nature. Pluto's darker side has manifested through the mafia, Hell's Angel, family, the Charles Mansons, himself a Scorpio, the use of torture and manipulation of the masses, through propaganda, and plutonium 235. The latter, a byproduct of nuclear power, has a half-life of 225,000 years and is one of the most toxic substances on Earth. As for its positive applications, Pluto governs the regenerative forces which manifest in physical, psychological healing. In the healing process, the patient first brings up and eliminates all toxins from his or her system, be they physical, emotional, or mental. Let me skip down a bit. In the birth chart, Pluto indicates how and where one may undergo transformative experiences. Unskillful expressions of Pluto's energy occurs when the process fuses slowly on the destructive part of the death rebirth process. Yet, when the transformative process is allowed to fulfill itself, then the soul's dark night is a necessary prelude to the dawning of a glorious rebirth. Psychologically, Pluto governs the process of catabolism. That's catabolism, not cannibalism. Catabolism and anabolism. The continual death and rebirth of body cells. Though through this process, we receive a new set of skin cells every 24 hours, a new bloodstream every 120 days, and a completely new body every 7 years. Pluto regenerative influences also manifest through the sexual union. While Mars rules sexual desire, Pluto, the higher vibration of Mars, governs the orgasm and the subsequent conception that creates new life. Diseases of Pluto occurs through intoxication, so auto-intoxication, the poisoning of the body through the slow buildup of physical toxins, radiation, carcinogens, etc., or psychological ones, hatred and resentment. The diseases of cancer seems to be particularly related to Pluto. Pluto also rules genetic mutation, which, by altering the DNA code, can permanently transform and transform the makeup of the species. Now, the words that are skillful expressions of Pluto is transformation, of transforming, renewing, regenerative, and healing. The unskillful expression or description of these words of Pluto is destruction, manipulation, or being manipulative, controlling, and vindictive. All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to Pluto inside the houses. And before I start, any questions about Pluto? Let me know if you got any questions. I take it as a no. Okay, good. So, as we move on to Pluto in the... Oh, sorry. I forget you guys are very visual. So, we're going to focus on, like I said, Pluto. And Pluto can be described in quite a few different glyphs, all right? Pluto looks like this at some point. It looks like a P, all right? Looks like a P. Literally like a P. And then there's this. All right, let me make sure I'm drawing it with sense. Yes. If you recognize that in your chart, that is Pluto. All right? Remember the words: transformation, death, rebirth, regenerative, all of those are associated with Pluto. Pluto is a dangerous planet. Very, very dangerous planet. Unless you can calm the waters, I'm talking about turbulent waters of Pluto in your chart, you can be consumed by it. Okay? Now we're going to look at somebody who has Pluto in the first house. You're going to take a look at a very famous person. Okay. Pluto. What is Pluto? Death, regeneration. It's sex. It's the underworld, dark, mysterious. It deals with a sense of power, an all or nothing attitude. Very much of a detective needs to dig into the surface. It's like mine gold, focusing on things that are underneath the surface. Sex, death, regeneration, like we said earlier. And with Pluto sitting in the first house, what is the first house? The first house in your chart is the house of the physical self. It hosts your ascendant. And your ascendant is the face that you wear to the people around you, the first impression you give to people when they first meet you. And with your first house having Pluto in that house, it could mean that you yourself can come off as being very magnetic. You draw people towards you. Why? Because Pluto also represents mass, expansion, explosion. And Pluto in the first house can mean a whole lot of things. I know an advanced student will probably be like, so if Pluto is death and the first house is self, does this mean death to self? And I would say that it's according to what sign it's sitting in and the aspects it has. All right? So, what would I say? Beyonce has Pluto in the first house. In her first house. Almost conjunct her ascendant. You ever realize how secretive her life is? How quiet and how secretive she is? But how much powerful, how magnetic she is. No matter where she is, she always seems to take the spotlight. Or she may seem to be very controlling. You know, people, when she first started when they first started Destiny's Child, and when she separated from them, people said, she just want power. She just want to control all of them. Maybe so. But also realize that she has gone through a whole lot of transformation physically. And it also means that as she gets older, her body will definitely be totally different than what she started off with. And she has a fear of that. Remember now, also, if I didn't explain this to you, Pluto also brings the sense of fear. Why? Because death brings fear. The fear of death is one of the strongest fears that we have on this earth. So she fears that her body may look so different and scared. So she may do the things to either change it or to make sure it stays the same. Are you guys there? Because you're pretty quiet. Please tell me if you're still here. Thank you. Yes. Pluto in the first house could also make that person to be very much a leader of the mass. A leader. Somebody, because if you're powerful, what are you going to do with that power? You're going to lead. You're going to do something that most people are afraid to do. Take in mind that even though Pluto rules fear, it also rules bravery. Because remember now, fear and death have a good relationship. So she can come off as being very brave, afraid of absolutely nothing. Her Pluto is sitting inside her in the sign of Libra. And what does that mean? Libra is the sign that rules partnerships. So basically, because our Pluto is sitting on her ascendant, which means the face that she wears, in the sign of Libra, it would detect and would show that her relationship or partnership will be so powerful that it'll be almost impossible to see her or call her name without calling out her partner. This is what Pluto in the sign did to Beyonce. We're going to look at somebody else who has Pluto in the first house so you can get an understanding from a different perspective of somebody who has Pluto in the first house. Somebody else who has Pluto in the first house. Jay-Z has Pluto in the first house. That's a coincidence, isn't it? You realize how, like I said, he may not be the best singer, but he sure as hell is powerful. One of the richest people in the world, but also very secretive, very magnetic. You wonder, what mother sick this big nose dude? I even win Beyonce, but Pluto in the first house shows that he is very, very much magnetic. I just use Jay-Z so you can get an understanding of how Pluto works. I'm going to go to somebody that's not in the music industry. You guys probably know. Let's go to Alexander the Great also had Pluto in the first house. This is where I miss Sheena. Sheena normally comes with the history facts. But Alexander the Great had Pluto in the sign of Aries. And what is the sign of Aries? Aries is the god of war, the god of conquering. And with this Pluto, literally conjunct his ascendant, literally in his first house, which shows that this man would be a conqueror when it comes to war. He would be one of the most powerful warmongers that ever lived on this earth. Pluto does stuff like that. Pluto lifts you up and it drops you. Remember the birth, death, regeneration. But Pluto in the first house for Alexander the Great, as you can see, with Pluto in the sign of Aries, would have made him the most powerful general, army, or warlord that ever lived in his time. He would conquer anybody. If you get the gist of what I'm talking about when it comes to Pluto in the first house. Give me one more. Dun, dun. Okay. Sorry. That was the music I was playing in my head. One more. You know what? Let's look at this dude before we go. Britney Spears. Let me make sure she has Pluto in the first house. And by golly, she has Pluto in the first house. We all know that Britney Spears, her physical body took a lot of different transformation. And even though people may see her to be crazy, she's also very magnetic and draws people to her. All right? Okay. Moving on to the second house. What's the second house? The second house is the house of assets, self-worth, value, movable assets. This also includes your senses, your 5 senses, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, because you put a sense of value to those things based upon you. Your income, your steady income. Yeah, basically that's what it is. And we're going to look at Pluto in the second house. And what's Pluto in the second house? Let me make sure this is correct before I move on. So Mark Zuckerberg, well, that can't be so. It's not him. He's Pluto in the third house. Oh yeah, Bill Gates. Let's take a look at Bill Gates has Pluto. Yeah, so Bill Gates has Pluto in the second house. And it's in the sign of Leo. Yep, he has it in the sign of Leo. Leader. And he has a conjunct Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion. With Pluto sitting in the second house, this could give you an all or nothing outlook of money, on money. It takes you from being poor to being extremely rich. Remember now, the all or nothing. This will make you somebody who place a lot of value on money. At some point, don't even give a crap about it. Pluto in the second house can have you to transform to be a power asset, a power house when it comes to assets. And what is Bill Gates? He is that, isn't he? There is a possibility in this lifetime that Bill Gates could also go from being very, very poor, very rich, to very poor as well. I said it here first. Pluto transform, remember. Pluto in the third house. We're moving pretty fast today. Martin Luther King. What is the third house first off before I go into Martin Luther King? What is the third house? The third house is the house that rules your sense of communication. It rules your siblings, your early part of life, your formal education. It rules your uncles and your brothers and your sisters and your transformation, you know, short distance travel. That's what it rules. And Pluto in the third house. Pluto in the third house can bring about a very powerful person that when they speak, people listen. And they speak of things that are deep in nature. They have a natural sense of assessing people by putting them together. They have the way to just see through to what you're saying and know what you're saying. They have the ability to cut through the BS. These are the people that like or need to know the reason behind things. Pluto in the third house can also make this person to be somebody who likes crossword puzzles, stuff like that. Sorry about that. I see one person in class today. Boy, y'all doing bad. I ain't gonna lie to you. This is your money. Use it how you need it. But I can tell you this one thing. I'm gonna say this because when I do give you guys this exam, and not just this, I'm talking about at the end of the year. I want to be able to be proud. Hey, that's fine. Glad to have you with us, Sheena. Thank you very much, Sheena. I could always look towards you for some positive words. Where is your Pluto in your chart? As a matter of fact, where are all you guys Pluto in the chart? Let me look at this. I think I have your chart right here. Sheena Toussaint. Is it here? Oh, yes it is. Rum bum bum bum. Doo doo doo. Doo doo doo. So Sheena, your Pluto is actually in the 12th house. You can get to you tomorrow when we finish Pluto. Moving on to Pluto in the 4th house. And we got 2 more houses to go. Pluto in the 4th house. What is the 4th house? The 4th house is your house of your roots and culture. It's the house of your physical home. It's the house that literally displays with your mom. It tells me about your sense of culture. But yeah, your Pluto is in Libra, so is mine. Your Pluto is sitting in your 12th house, by the way. 4th house rules your sense of culture. It rules your psychological depth. It also rules the ending part of your life. No problem. And with Pluto sitting in your 4th house, this could mean that you came from a controlling environment. Now, let me get back to 3rd house. 3rd house could also mean that you could either be in control of your siblings or your siblings are in control of you. It's the same way of the assets. You could also be either controlled by money or money controls you. The same way with the 1st house. You could either be controlled by your physical body or you control your physical body. Okay, guys, what I'm going to do, because everybody can't get on, I'm going to start it over and in another class. Right now, I'm going to just end this video, but do not go far. Sign on to the other one. I'm going to do that right now.